Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanasalakaya Chakshuramitam Jena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangu Langte Girim Yad Kiripatadam Vande Sri Gurum Dinatarini Brahmananda Madhvam Sri Chaitanya Ishwaram Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanto Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashat Desha Tarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you so much. Hari Bol. So Hare Krishna, dear devotees. This is continuation of the verses that we have been reciting. We have been reading over many weeks now. And this is one of my service. So I'm very, very fortunate to be part of this service. I feel very, very obliged that, I'm getting this opportunity to share the Srimad Bhagavatam and whatever understanding I have. So this is not for you to basically, preach. I'm not preaching anybody, but this is for me to learn. I'm just preaching myself. But in the same way, as I'm doing it for myself, if it benefits you, it's really appreciable. I know all of you are, expert in this subject, but still I'm going to dare to share the subject with you, whatever I understand based upon Prabhupada's purport. So this particular verse, this is a slide that I would like to go over first. So this is basically summary of the purport. The purport that we just studied. There were many points Prabhupada is making. So I would like to go over those points. So first Prabhupada is saying that the Atma is spiritual. So it does not matter how much endeavor we make into the material world, it's not going to be satisfied. If somebody starts looking for the satisfaction, then there are a variety of approaches which is described based upon times and places. If one wants to take the shelter of scriptures, there are innumerable scriptures. And all of these have prescribed various methods and duties that one should do. On the top of all, point number 5, that this is age of Kali. And in age of Kali, people are very much fallen. And when I say fallen, I would like to go to the other section where summary of the previous purport is given, where in the purport and in the verse, it's mentioned that in Kali Yuga, people will have short life. They will live for alp ayu. They will be always quarrelsome. They will be lazy. They will be misguided. There will be misfortune and always disturbed. Also, these 6 points are coming from the verse itself. And then in the purport, Prabhupada is writing that the surrounding is going to be very, very disturbing, such as cinema, sports, and so many other stuff going on around. People will be very, very lazy in the matter of self-realizations. And there will be fake religions which are not based upon bona fide scripture, which is not coming from the disciplic succession. So these are some of the drawbacks we'll have in the age of Kali. So going back to the point number 6 from the first section, with all of that, it becomes very, 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 very difficult. And Prabhupada is saying that almost impossible for the people in the age of Kali to understand what's the purpose of the life, what's the sense of all of these scriptures that's given there. And then the seventh point is that is very, very strong point, that in this age of Kali, the Varnasra system, the Varna and Ashram systems will be broken. And what that will do is that if the Varnashram system is broken, people as such are not going to get the opportunity to be trained. So they are not going to be trained about the subject of self-realization. So with all of that difficulties that's going to arise in Kali Yuga. So these slides should very much tell you that how much problems we have in this age of Kali. And with all of this going on around, how a conditioned soul, not a liberated soul, a conditioned soul can aspire for self-realization, can aspire for Atma Tattva and Param Tattva. It's very, very difficult. So here is such a kind and compassionate affection of acharyas for the living being. They are requesting Sutta Goswami that, my dear Sutta Goswami, please tell us what is the essence of all of these scriptures. And this is the question number 2 that's being asked. So they are asking here that please tell us what is the essence of all the scripture. Very powerful question. And when we read, excuse me, when we read Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam and other scriptures translated by His Divine Grace, many times we hear the word Supreme Personality of Godhead. Or, if the subject is on Karma Yoga or Jnana Yoga, Prabhupada is at the end or somehow other trying to summarize that ultimately one should lead to the Bhakti Yoga. So if you really see the compassion, sometimes people say, why Supreme Personality of Godhead? Because by doing that, Prabhupada is telling us the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the essence. Don't dwell at so many places. Get to the point, Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan Sri Krishna. Or don't just dwell into the Karma Yoga or Jnana Yoga or Yoga and all of that. Just come to the point of Bhakti Yoga, because you do not have time, you do not have sufficient intelligence, you do not have everything that you need to come to the essence of the Shastra. And here, sages are helping us to understand what is the essence of the Shastra. So today's discussion, I'm going to very much summarize what is the essence of Shastra, the scriptures, and we'll try to understand different types of Shastra, and then what's the essence, and then how we basically practically apply in our life. So these are the topic for the discussion today, the scriptures, and then its essence of the scriptures, and then how we can take that essence and apply in our life. This question is answered in second chapter, and once we get there, we'll have more discussion on this topic. But today we'll just focus on finding the essence of the subject and also how we can practically apply in our day-to-day life. So before I get into that, I just wanted to summarize here that there are 2 types of scriptures. One is called Shruti and one is called Smriti. And Shruti is basically the scripture which is coming from Krishna himself. Krishna spoke to Brahma, and then it's other rishis. So it is basically oral receptions of the instructions which is coming from Krishna, and then it is going through one rishi to other rishi. Also, it's been said that the Shruti exists before the creation. But a Smriti is type of a scripture that was compiled by great saintly person who were very, very realized, very, very advanced. And they, through sadhana bhakti, they got the instruction from Supreme Lord. But to make it easier for the people of the Kali Yuga or for the people of the age, they wrote it in a very simple language so that people can understand and they can follow. So Shruti is basically the Vedic scripture, which is based upon the oral receptions, and a Smriti is basically coming from the sages, which have received the message from very bona fide source such as Brahma and Krishna, and then they have compiled it to make it easier for the ages to come. You will see that many times devotees say that Shruti is superior than Smriti, and it's really not like that. My study says that you have an option. You have an option, and the better example is given that if wife and husband is fighting, you really don't beat husband, or don't beat wife. Or if two cows are fighting, you don't really beat one cow to settle the fight. Rather, you come up with the option. You come up with the option and you find a way so that the fight will not be there. So if there is a conflict between Shruti and Smriti, the option is given that one should go with Shruti. That doesn't mean that Smriti is lower than Shruti. So both the sources of understanding and receiving the scriptures, Shruti and Smriti, are bona fide source, and they are complementary of each other. They help us to basically get the essence, to get the subject. Under Shruti, the Vedas and Upanishads comes, and Smritis are Puranas and Itihasas, and which are also called the fifth Veda. So both Shruti and Smriti are of equal importance, but when conflict arises, one should follow the instructions of Shruti. So with that, here is the list of all the Vedic literature, and they are basically put into two categories: Shruti and Smriti. Shruti is based upon oral receptions, and Smritis are the scriptures which are compiled by sages. And my dear devotees, look at this list, and please just think for a minute how many years it will take for us to go through all of these scriptures and find out the essence of what we have to do. I have been in Krishna consciousness over a few years, but I can tell you for sure that I haven't read every book written by Prabhupada from page to page. Just Prabhupada's book. And forget about all of these, scriptures that you are seeing there. So it's really very, 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 very hard for conditioned soul to find the essence. And that was the reason I had this slide, to tell you that how many scriptures are there and how we can find the essence of all that scriptures. So I'm going to basically share about what the instructions that given scripture and what is the essence. Karunanidhi, can you keep a little bit quiet, or maybe you can close the door, please? So the first one is coming from Bhagavad Gita, and all of you might know that Sarvasya chaham hridaya sanavisto matah asmritim jnanam apuhanam cha vedasya sarvar ahameva vedyo vedanta krid veda vedeva chaham. So here Krishna is saying that by all the Veda, I am to be known. Vedasya sarvar ahameva vedyo. From all the Veda, I am to be known. And Veda Krit, I am the compiler of the Veda, and Veda Ved, I am the knower of the Veda. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 5, Viduraj and Maitreya's talk, there is another beautiful verse given there, and that says, Tadasya Kasharva Sarmadatur Hare Katha Meva Katha Susaram Udhritya Pushpebhya Ivarta Bandho Shivaya Nakritya Tirtha Kirtahe. The translation of this verse says that Hare Katha Meva Katha Susaram. Of all the katha, of all the stories, the essence is Hari Katha, the Katha of Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, because it is Shivaya, for the welfare of all human beings. And very good point is made through that verse, is that the bees goes into a garden and goes over so many different types of flower, from one flower to other flower to other flower to other flower. And what it does is that finally it takes the essence and gives the honey. So all the essence that bees are picking up from different flower, finally it comes as a honey. Likewise, all these scriptures finally helps us understand who is the Supreme Person, which is Krishna. So this is very clearly and very precisely and concisely, this point is made here, that Hari Katham eva Katha Susaram. Of all the kathas, of all the glories, the Katha of Hari is the Saram. That's the essence. Also, Prabhupada, this is all coming from Prabhupada. So I'm not citing anything from outside. I do not go outside. I just, research Prabhupada's literature and bring the point that is helping us to understand the point. So this is coming from Gopal Tapani Upanishad, and it says, Yosha Sarvar Vedar Gayate, indirectly and directly, either Karma Khanda or Gyan Kanda. Everything is basically glorifying the Krishna alone. It's all directly or indirectly glorification of the Supreme Lord. Then there is one Brahma Sutra in Vedanta Sutra that says Tattu Samanvayat, which means the purpose of learning Veda and purpose of having understanding of the subject, all of that is basically to attain the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. So the goal, understanding, and purpose, everything for the Veda is to attain pure love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Hari. So these are some of the verses that I cited to make the point that Hare Kathayava Katha Susaram, the glories of Supreme Lord and devotion of the Supreme Lord is essence of all the Vedic scriptures. And if you research, if you go through our Vedic literature, you will find that that's indeed is the truth. The essence of all the Vedic scripture is coming to the point where we can situate ourselves in the pure devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So with that, we have been going through the Bhagavatam, and recently we just finished the chapter where we read how many literature Vyasadeva has compiled. He compiled Vedas. He basically broke or split Veda into 4 books, and he assigned his disciples to be in charge of each topic. He compiled Mahabharata. He wrote Puranas, major and minor Puranas, and then he also wrote Vedanta Sutra, which is ultimate knowledge. By doing all of that, still he was not satisfied. He was not satisfied, and then Narad Muni is coming and giving him the instruction that you are not satisfied because you haven't sufficiently glorified the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Hari. So that's also, you can see here that he has created all the scriptures, but still he's feeling dissatisfied. Still there is some despondency. And the reason for that is that he has not sufficiently done the glorification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So after that, he is basically compiling Srimad Bhagavatam, which is nothing but the natural commentary of the Vedanta Sutra. So these Srimad Bhagavatams are basically person. Srimad Bhagavatam is person. And there is one verse that I'm going to cite right after this to basically share that from where it's coming, why Bhagavatam is person. So Bhagavatam has 12 cantos, and first 2 cantos are compared as the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. So first and second canto is lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. Third and fourth cantos are Lord's thighs. Fifth canto is his navel. Sixth canto is basically chest. 7 and 8 canto is Lord's arm. 9th canto is throat. 10th canto is Lord's face. 11th is forehead, and 12th is Lord's head. So likewise, these Srimad Bhagavatam, slowly and slowly, as we are going from Canto 1 to Canto 2 to Canto 3 to Canto 4, we are in fact trying to understand the Supreme Person, Lord Sri Krishna, in detail. This is very beautiful. When this thing we think, carefully and with some, meditation, we understand these Bhagavatams are jewel, because this helps us understand how to basically understand Krishna, who Krishna is, how to know Krishna. So we came to the point where we discussed that the essence of every Vedic scripture is to know Krishna. And then we are going to focus on Srimad Bhagavatam, because Srimad Bhagavatam is the literature which is basically helping us understand about the Supreme Person, Bhagavan Sri Krishna. So I will just talk some of the uniqueness of Bhagavatam. And here is a verse that is written by Sanatana Goswami, and this is basically song, Krishna Lila Sattva. It goes like that: Sarva Sastrabhadi Piyusa, Sarva Vedaika Satphala, Sarva Siddhanta Ratnadhya, Sarva Lokaika Drikprada, Sarva Bhagavata Prana, Srimad Bhagavate Prabhu, Kali Dhvanto Dhva Aditya, Sri Krishna Parivartita. So each of these, you see that I have highlighted it with white and yellow color to say that each of these basically sections are making one unique point. Sarva Sastravadi Piyusha, nectar. Srimad Bhagavatam is nectar of all the Vedic scripture. Sarva Vedaika Satphala. This is the matured transcendental fruit of all the Vedic scripture. Sarva Siddhanta Ratnaya. It is basically jewels of all the spiritual philosophy. Sarva Lokaike Drikprada. This is the scripture which is going to give the vision, going to give the guidance to all the people. Sarva Bhagavata Prana. It's very, very dear to all the devotees of the Supreme Lord. Kali Dvanto Dhitya Aditya. It is like Aditya, Surya, sun for this age of Kali. Sri Krishna Parivartita. The word Parivartita means Lord himself has appeared in his Grantha incarnation as Srimad Bhagavatam. So as you can see, Srimad Bhagavatam is none different than Lord himself for this age of Kali. Mahaprabhu also, in his conclusive 5 conclusive opinions, has sang this verse, which goes like this: Aradhya Bhagavan Brajastanyas Tatadhama Vrindavanam Ramya Kasidupasna Brajbadhu Bhargena Vakalpita Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanam Amalam Prema Pumartho Mahan Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Matam Idam Tatra Dara Na Paraha. So Mahaprabhu is saying that these are the 5 essence. These are the 5 essence of all the aradhana, of all the object of worship. Aradhya Bhagwan, Brajesh Tanyas. The Brajesh, Sri Krishna is the main aradhana, or worshipping Lord Sri Krishna is the main aradhana out of all the aradhana. Of all the dham, Tadadhama, Vrindavanam, of all the holy places, Vrindavan is the topmost holy place. Ramya Kasid Upasna Brajbadhu. Brajbadhu is referring here to the gopis. Of all the upasana, of all the worship that gopis did is the highest most. So as a devotee, our goal should be basically to become devotee like gopis, come to that standard, at least aspire to be devotee like gopis. And then Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanam Amlam. Srimad Bhagavatam is Amlam Pramanam. Amlam means spotless, superior, topmost authority. is Srimad Bhagavatam. And of all the artha, tadartha, of all prema puma artho mahan, of all the artha, of all the subject which we can consider as goal of our life, obtaining the prema, pure love for Supreme Lord, is the highest most artha. So there are five, facts mentioned here, and out of these five, one is Srimad Bhagavatam. And the beauty is that all other four, glories of Sri Krishna, glories of Vrindavan, pastime of gopis, how to obtain merchant prema for the Supreme Lord, is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. So by taking deep shelter of Srimad Bhagavatam, in fact, we are doing other four items. So I wanted to share this to basically make you understand how exalted is Srimad Bhagavatam, and how our acharyas and Mahaprabhus are recommending the beauties and qualities of Srimad Bhagavatam, and how it's going to help us to obtain the pure love of Supreme Lord. So throughout the scriptures, there are many purport, many places where you would see that Bhagavatam has been compared with many subject, or many object, to make it clear to us to understand how Srimad Bhagavatam is helping the conditioned soul. So one basically comparison is made with lamp. Srimad Bhagavatam is like lamp, adhyatma deepam. And as lamp dissipates the darkness, likewise, by reading Srimad Bhagavatam, all the illusion and all the darkness that one has is going to go away. It's also compared to sun. Srimad Bhagavatam is also compared with sun. Purana Arko. Arko means sun, sure. So it's Purna Arko. Purna Arko means totally going to nullify the effect of ignorance. Like when sun comes, there is no darkness. So in the presence of Srimad Bhagavatam, all the ignorance or all the conditioning that human being have or the soul have over the time, all of it is going to be completely vanquished. And then it's also compared with Mohini Murti, and I'm sure that you would know who Mohini Murti is. This is Lord himself who came basically after churning the ocean when the nectar was found. And what he did as a Mohini Murti, he basically baffled all the demons, and he saved the nectar for demigods, for the devotee. So Srimad Bhagavatam, we just heard, one or two slides before, that this is for everybody. And that was the instruction given to Vyasdev by Narad Muni, that write a scripture that should fulfill the desire of everybody. Which means if a philosopher is approaching Srimad Bhagavatam, and if he wants to understand the science based upon the instruction of Srimad Bhagavatam, he will find sufficient evidence where he will say that yes, like chapter 5, how the cosmology is working, and so many other subjects. If Jnani is approaching, he will also find sufficient evidence. If Karmi is approaching Srimad Bhagavatam, he will also find some truth, some fact. But overall, Srimad Bhagavatam is written for pure devotee. It's for pure devotional service. So Srimad Bhagavatam is also compared as swimming of a hansa. And you would see that when swan is swimming in a lake, you would see that swan doesn't go straight. It will go a little bit, right, little bit left, like in a very wavy way, and then it will slowly go to the destination. So Srimad Bhagavatam is for everybody, and it's person. The point that I'm trying to make is Srimad Bhagavatam is a person. And if one is approaching Srimad Bhagavatam for pure devotion, then it appears to them as a nectar. Otherwise, if we approach Srimad Bhagavatam for any other motivation, we'll find the substance, we'll have the juice, we'll have the taste that we are going to get, but it's not what Bhagavatam is written for. Another example that I can give is that one is trying to learn English from the book of a physics that written in English. Okay, so the physics book also has proper subject verb agreement. It's written in a proper way, but it's not written for one to understand English, or one to understand the grammar. If you want to really learn grammar or English, you have to go and read the book that is meant for that. So Srimad Bhagavatam is basically written for pure devotees to develop their devotional service or help conditioned souls to come to the pure devotional service. So that's the example given here, that Srimad Bhagavatam is a person, and Srimad Bhagavatam acts like a Mohini Murti. If one approach in a baffling way for mental concoction, it will keep baffled, or it will keep person baffled. But if one is approaching to get the pure devotion, it will appear like a nectar. And then I wanted to spend more time on that subject. That's why I spoke so many things. And then the fourth example is given, that it's like Nigam Kalpataru. Srimad Bhagavatam is compared with desire tree, and it fulfills all the desire of a conditioned soul. And of course, our desire should be to obtain the pure love of the Supreme Lord. And then the fifth point is, fifth comparison that's made is Galitam Phalam. It's like matured, tasty fruit. And the reason this picture is here, because mango itself is so tasty. It's very, very tasty fruit. But when it is beaten by parrot, in this case Suka Goswami, it becomes even much, 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 much sweeter. So Srimad Bhagavatam is the highest transcendental taste of the rasa. So throughout the scriptures, I know these are the 5 comparisons that you would see, which is made for Srimad Bhagavatam. So then after that, I'm going to share how one should approach Srimad Bhagavatam. What should be the mood when we are approaching Srimad Bhagavatam? And that's part of that is very much answered in the 2nd verse of 1st chapter, which goes like this: Dharma projita kaitava atra pramo nirmatsaram satam vedyam vastavam atra vastu shivadam tapatrayo numulanam Srimad Bhagavata Mahamuni krite kimva prayarishwaraha sadhayo hriday avarudhyate atra kirtabhi shursabhish tatchanat. So this verse basically tells us that how one should approach Srimad Bhagavatam. And the very first sentence is Dharma projitaha kaitava. It completely rejects all materially motivated activities. So I would like to go back to Gita. The Paribhasa Sutra, the Mool verse of Bhagavad Gita is verse number 65 and 66. Manmana bhavat bhakto, and then 66 is Sradharman parityaja mamekam saranam varja. So in Gita, Krishna is saying that Sradharman parityaja mamekam saranam varja, aham sarva papava mokshasami masucha. Abandon all types of religion, come and take my shelter. And right in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, verse number 2 says Dharma projitaha kaitava. So you see how it's synchronizing. Leave all types of materially motivated religion activities. So if one is approaching Srimad Bhagavatam for any material desire, it's not recommended. Nirmatsaram satyam vedyam. This is basically understandable by the devotees who are pure in their heart, and in bracket, non-envious. The person who is free from any envy, they can understand the message of Srimad Bhagavatam. Vastavam vastu. Vastavam vastu. Vastu means the subject. Vastava means real. So Srimad Bhagavatam, we say that real deal. We say this word most of the time. So Srimad Bhagavatam is the real deal. Vastavam Vastu. It's real Vastu. It's highest reality. And Sivadam, it's for the welfare of all people, for everybody. It's for everybody. It's for everybody. I don't know how to say that thing, but I want to emphasize that this is for everybody, whatever degree of consciousness we are in, where we are, whatever stage we are in. This is for us. This is for everybody, and it will help us to reveal the supreme truth. And then tapa trayono mulanam, tapas, three tapas. So it approves the threefold of miseries, the suffering that one perceives in the material world, which is Adi Bhautik, Adi Daivik. So those tapa is going to be uprooted by studying Srimad Bhagavatam. And then Susrusu Vis Tat Chanat. It says that it's not going to really be too long. Rather, as soon as one attentively and submissively hears the Bhagavatam. So attentively and submissively. These are the two points mentioned here, that one should attentively and submissively hear Srimad Bhagavatam. So this verse 112 help us understand how one should approach Srimad Bhagavatam. Also, there are many other points made in purpose of Srila Prabhupada, and it says that Bhagavatam should be heard from a authorized person. We should hear Bhagavatam from a person who is bona fide. It should be here systematically from beginning to end. One should not directly jump to chapter canto 10 or to the chapter where the pastime of gopis are mentioned. Also, a person who is reading or hearing Srimad Bhagavatam should exhibit the Vaishnava quality, which means he should be respectful for the speaker. He should not be asking the question just to challenge the speaker, rather be submissive and hear. And also, a good listener inspire the speaker. So that quality is also mentioned. And a good listener should be compassionate and determined, that by hearing the message of Srimad Bhagavatam, or have the faith that by hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam, I'm going to be benefited. So these are some of the way one can approach Srimad Bhagavatam. And this is the last slide here. So I'm just going to kind of summarize what are the things that we covered under this discussion. The very first thing that we did is that we basically set up the foundation based upon this scripture. All the discussion is staying within the context of this verse. And the very first thing that we understood is that there are a variety of scriptures. There are so many instructions given based upon time and circumstances. And for a conditioned soul, it's very, 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 very difficult to come to the essence, come to the conclusive points. So that was the first part of the discussion. And then we went over some of the verses to summarize what is the essence of all of these scriptures. And we came to the conclusion that essence of all the scripture is basically pure devotional service to the Supreme Personality, Lord Sri Krishna. And how we gain that, how we come to the point of pure devotional service, then we talked about few uniqueness and qualities of Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is teaching us and presenting us the example of pure devotees and helping us to understand what is the pure devotion, and as a devotee, how we can engage ourselves in pure devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then the last slide was what should be our mood. And then we talked that Krishna, of course, is a person, but Srimad Bhagavatam is also his Grantha avatar. For age of Kali, Krishna incarnated himself as Srimad Bhagavatam, and the way we reveal the degree of surrender that we show when we are reciting Srimad Bhagavatam, to that degree Bhagavatam reveals to us. So one should be surrender and very submissive to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. So that was the basically topic that I wanted to discuss today. And the title was Getting to the Essence of the Vedic scriptures. So with that, I have 2 minutes, as I see on my clock here. If anybody would like to make a comment or corrections or any input, please, whatever you feel like to comment, please do so. I do not mind. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Hari Bol.
I would just like to thank you so much. It's very nicely presented and very well done. And I think it will help to go into more detail for the Bhagavatam. And new person like me, it's overwhelming, but it's so much interesting that I can gain something out of it now and savor it forever.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you. Yeah. So as I said last time, that we have like our Sunday Feast format. This is our temple program. So in this is program for our devotees like you and all. So we try to we have to basically also talk about our scriptures and intricacy of our scriptures and beauty of our scriptures. So sometimes we get into some clumsy verses and some other difficult topics, but we have to do that. This is one of our austerity.
I wouldn't think so.
Right. So thank you so much. So yes, this is very beautiful, but good input. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mata.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So first I want to thank you, commend you for a beautiful presentation and your slides. They're very helpful. And so I just have a quick question. So I'm just curious about this. So in the greater, umbrella of Hinduism.
Yeah.
I know that's a misnomer, but we know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So I know in the greater, so they accept the Mahabharata and the Ramayana and certainly the Bhagavad Gita. And I've heard discussion that they don't necessarily accept Chaitanya Charitamrita for certain reasons. But what about the Srimad Bhagavatam? Does the greater Hindu community accept the Srimad Bhagavatam, or is this like more specific to the Vaishnava line?
Right. That's a very good point. And I did some research on that topic. So here is the thing, Prabhu. That's why I presented this slide. The slide that I presented here, that was the slide. The main intent of that slide was, this slide was to make the point that both Shruti and Smritis are bona fide. Very, very bona fide. Because ultimately, all the knowledge is coming from Krishna himself. There is no other source. Vedasa sarva, Ahameva Veda. So, and if you look at the Vyasdev, who was plenary expansion of Lord. So in that sense, it's coming from Krishna. So Sukdev Goswami or Vyasdev or everybody got the inspiration from Krishna. So ultimately so as long as knowledge is bona fide and coming from disciplic succession, it's coming from Krishna, no doubt about that. But what happened is that, some of the, not to criticize, but there are many, Western people who went and studies our Vedas and other, scripture. And what they said is that, they found that there was some instance in our scriptures that say that if there is conflict between Shruti and Asmriti, one should go with Shruti. That doesn't mean that Asmriti is not powerful. Asmriti is also, when a saintly person does many years and years and years of sadhana bhakti, then Lord basically gives him the intelligence and to help the people of Kali Yuga, he compiles things and put into a simple language. So both Shruti and Smritis are complementary to each other. One should not think that Shruti is higher than a Smriti. And I did a lot of research on this subject before I'm presenting to you. So when it comes to Srimad Bhagavatam, it's very bona fide, although it is coming under the Smriti section. But Vyasdev wrote it. For Chaitanya Charitamrita, who wrote it? Kaviraj. And they were close associates of lineage of Mahaprabhu. So these scriptures are very, very bona fide, and it's coming through disciplic succession, a very bona fide disciplic succession. So that's for our Vaishnava tradition. And there are some confusion out there in the Hindu community, or in the community, people who are going and reading the Vedic scripture. Some of the damage was done to Vedic scriptures and Vedic way of thinking by Western researcher also. Some of these people, when they invaded India, like Mughal and British, they did is that they tried to break the backbone of Indian culture, and they created some confusion, and that confusion is still prevailing to the society, where people are saying that this and this. But the fortune that we have is that we have a deeper shelter of His divine grace, and that is why when we say that we should always take the shelter of Prabhupada and his writing, because that's coming through the bona fide disciplic succession, and it's going to keep us very focused unless and until we become matured and we come to the point where we have the clear understanding what is coming from where. So for us, for Vaishnava theology, both Shruti and Smriti are equally powerful. Out there are some confusion, but please don't worry for that.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu. Of course, for me, I didn't have doubts, of course, but I was just always curious,
Right. No, I just wanted to
from other perspective.
Right. Some Western damage, some damage have been done to our theology, to our Vedic scriptures, and that's different subject. If you want, I can give you a lot of evidence on that. But yes, there are some confusion. But for us, we are taking shelter of Prabhupada, and for us, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, all of them are very, very, authorized and bona fide scripture to take the shelter.
Yeah.
May I add something?
Yes.
Okay, where I came from, it was Bhagavatam Kathas every year, and so many months we used to listen to the stories and all that too. So it was popular, even though the history was erased from our, gradually in our country. Right. But still, those things were going from town to town and even rural areas. This event, and they talk about Krishna, and I have seen Govardhan Puja and lectures and everything, attended those. So yeah. I have some, I think people still respect Bhagavatam and learn from it.
Right. You're right. Definitely Bhagavatam is very respected in Hindu community also, no doubt. Yeah, you're right.
Thank you for sharing that, Mataji.
So anybody has anything?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. It's a beautiful slides, Prabhu. The pictures and everything is nicely presented. It's easy to perceive. Thank you very much. And I have a question, Prabhu. So the essence of Bhagavatam is to know God and love for the God, attain love for the God. So is that a natural manifestation, or one should aspire for it?
No, it's naturally manifested. So the Navadha Bhakti Sonam Kirtanam Vishnu Smarnam Pad Sevanam Archanam Bandhanam Dasam Sakhyam Atma Nivedanam. So chanting, if we have to chant, if you chant seriously, if you read Srimad Bhagavatam seriously, we do not have to really imitate, or we do not have to really force ourselves to become a pure devotee. Rather, we have to focus more on the process. So sadhana bhakti, we are in a stage of sadhana, but we are sadhana, bhaktas. So for us, our daily hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam, daily hearing of Bhagavad Gita, listening Prabhupads, chanting our rounds very seriously, getting up in the morning, going to the temple, doing Mangalarti, doing services. Some of these things, which is part of the Navodha Bhakti, we have to do that. We don't have to really worry too much that I'm going to be pure devotee or not, or what is my future. Rather, we focus more on the subject, on the steps. And then, depending on the degree of seriousness and sincerity we present, Krishna says that I reveal accordingly. So if Lord wants us to become the pure devotee, we'll become pure devotee. If not, then we'll continue. But we have to focus more on our immediate goals. And long-term goals, of course, we have to be a pure devotee at some point. But the immediate goals are that we do some services, we read, and we chant. And then, it will come automatically over the time. Hope I answered that. Hope I was able to explain.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. It was an awesome journey through the slides, Prabhuji. A lot of learning. One slide that actually I was where you are presenting all these shastras, Prabhuji. A quick question actually came to my mind, like you at the end of explaining, like there are plenty of shastras that are there, but the essence is to just know Krishna. So and Srimad Bhagavatam is the ripened fruit of all the shastras. So what's the need probably like for all these different shastras? Then probably like why they are created. If we can have just one Bhagavatam, probably, and that Bhagavatam will definitely be giving us what actually the people need. So just wondering, like, what they will, who are the audiences of all those things, all those shastras, like, and where it is not needed.
Right. So there are scriptures also which are in the mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. You know that, right? Like I can go to that slide. So people who are in the mode of goodness here, Tasmik, Rajsik, and Sattvic, you see. So there are people who are in the mode of ignorance, and you will see there are so many people who are like Aghori, Tantric. They live in places where we can't even go, and they eat and drink, and they think that they are devotee. So Lord, basically Krishna has everything for everybody. So there are people, who are in the mode of ignorance, people in the mode of passion, people in the mode of goodness. But the bottom line is that one may start in first class, second class, third class, fourth class, fifth class. Finally, one becomes, high school graduate, and then, bachelor graduate, then master, then PhD, right? So likewise, slowly, once advance. So based upon the mode we are in, or based upon the understanding we have, one starts somewhere, and the scripture is there for that person to basically, take help. And then slowly and slowly, that person, comes to the pure devotional service. So these scriptures are basically helping them wherever they are. That's one thing. Another thing is that, as you know, that all the Veda, once you study all the Veda, we come to the point of mode of goodness. You know that, right?
Yep.
So bhakti can be done when we are beyond this, mode of what Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita. Brahmabhut prasanatma na sochti na kangti. So what is that Brahmabhut prasanatma? As long as person is not out of this, mode, he cannot be Brahmbhuta. So for pure devotional service, one has to come to the point of Brahmbhuta stage. But other literatures help us come to the point of, Brahmbhutas. So all of these scriptures have very, very, deep importance and significance to the society, to the human being. But how long we have to go from ignorance to passion to goodness to Shuddha Sattva. So that's what, saintly person does. They are so compassionate that they tell us that all of these things are there. But here is the thing that you need to focus. That will help you, get Krishna Prema quickly, or help you understand the Lord quickly. So that doesn't mean that if we have to just focus on the Bhagavatam, other scriptures have no significance. They have significance. They have the audience, and their audience are using it. So that's how I will present it. Was it helpful, Prabhu, or confused you?
Yeah, Prabhu, it was helpful, and just like mode of passion and mode of ignorance. These two categories, if they cannot directly jump on Bhagavatam, right? People who are on those modes.
No, they can, but again, they will. When Sukdev Goswami was giving Srimad Bhagavatam instructions to Parikshit Maharaj, Shastra says that there were few devotees who were not basically pure devotee. They were like yogi or jnani, So that's what we were talking. That whatever way one approach, they receive, Krishna instructions that way. So no, people in the mode of ignorance or passion, they can also approach Bhagavad Gita. It's in fact everybody can approach Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. But how much the truth will reveal to them, that is questionable.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Prabhu.
Hari.
Hare Krishna.
Mr. Prabhu, so if you have more number of shastra, more number of books, means you will have a lot of books to sell in the gift shop also, no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, Prabhu, we should. That's what I was wondering, whether I should order.
So here is the thing. Here is the thing. Yeah, it's good. It's good. But as a devotee, we have to also know, as our sages are showing the example of the compassion here, any activity that we do has two purpose. If you really put everything in a very concise way, has two purpose. Very simple way. The first purpose is that how I can elevate myself more to Krishna consciousness. What are the things that I can do that will help me to become more Krishna consciousness? And second thing is that paropkara, and that's what we have been studying and reading. That our action should be what I should do that will help other to become more Krishna consciousness. So that's how we should see. We should not really just to sell the books. We should promote the things that is not aligned with the mood and mission of our acharya. That's not the service. Service always has to be pleasing. I serve you, and that service displease you. What's the point of doing the service? So I do not recommend that just to fill our book gift store, we should sell everything. No, it has to be aligned with the mood and mission of our guru and